Good morning. We'll start with the module 4, that is a continuation of the web security. In previous sessions, we have discussed about the XML. Now we'll continue with the other technological aspects associated. Okay. The SOAP concept. SOAP stands for Simple Object Access Protocol, which is standardized by WCAG, and it is used for exchanging structured information over the internet. The SOAP can be used over any transport protocol such as TCP, HTTP, and SMTP. The SOAP defines a model for processing individual and one-way messages. A SOAP fits snugly inside the body of an HTTP request or the response packet. The MIME type field in the HTTP header of a SOAP message is set equal to text or XML. Now let us see the format of the SOAP message. The SOAP message is an XML document made up of the SOAP envelope. Inside the SOAP envelope, okay, we will be having the SOAP header and the SOAP body. Okay, so SOAP header is used to extend the message and may include the security meta information such as encryption algorithm used and digital signature computed on the message, etc. Okay, the various information about the cryptographic parameters will be included in the header. Okay, so and again here the header, the SOAP header is optional. Okay, now let us see the SOAP body. The most of the information in the message is contained in its body. Okay, the lieu of the document style message format of the body of the SOAP message may contain the remote procedure calls also in the XML format. It can have the remote procedure calls in the XML format. So here we have the example where we are seeing the SOAP message in HTTP post request. Okay, so this shows the SOAP request message from a client to a provider, the current stock prices. Okay, so as we can see here, we have the tag SOAP colon body. Okay, and here we have the get price element. Okay, that indicates it is the request message from a client to a provider about the current stock prices. The client is requesting for the current stock prices, and here it is making use of the HTTP protocol. Okay, and all these things are included in the SOAP envelope tag. Inside the SOAP envelope tag, we have the SOAP body here. Okay, here we do not have SOAP header since SOAP header is an optional. Okay, here we are seeing SOAP envelope followed by the inside we have inside we have SOAP body. Okay, so this is about the HTTP post request. That is, it is encapsulated in an HTTP request packet. Okay, so and here we have one more code, pseudocode. As we can see here from the code, again we have the SOAP envelope. Inside that we have the SOAP body, and again it is making up the HTTP protocol. Okay, and we have the variable X associated with the name, that is the element get price response. That is, this is the response given to the client. So we have the value, that is 3847 as a response given to the client, and the end of the tag get price response followed by the end of the body and end of the SOAP envelope. So this is the SOAP message in the HTTP response. Okay, So these two are the example for the SOAP message in HTTP post request and HTTP response. Okay, so the mapping between the SOAP message and an underlying transport protocol is referred to as an SOAP binding. So SOAP may run on the top of the HTTP or SMTP, but mostly used one is the HTTP protocol. Okay, so in case of the HTTP binding, either a GET or POST request may be used. In the later case, the SOAP message may be encapsulated in the body of the HTTP POST packet as well as in HTTP response packet, as we saw in the above examples. Okay. Now, the SOAP message between the two endpoints may be routed through several intermediators also. Therefore, a node in a SOAP message path may require that a particular header element, let us say we have the block 1 as the header element, and it will be processed by the ultimate destination code or its intermediate successor code. Okay, so this information is conveyed by the two attributes known as the role and must understand, where these two attributes are included in the block 1 element. Therefore, processing the header might involve modifying the values within the given header or removing the header or inserting a new header. Okay. So these are the few points on the SOAP messages and its binding. Now let us see WSDL, which stands for Web Services Definition Language. So it is a language for describing the web services. It exposes the operations and communication protocols used by the web service. A complete WSDL service description will include definitions of various elements such as types, messages, operation, port types, and bindings. Okay, these are the three main important elements which is contained in WSDL service description, that is port type, okay, operations, and the binding. So the port type specifies the one or more operations within its scope, whereas operation is an abstract definition of the action. It involves one or more messages. For example, the operation can receive a message that needs no response, or it can send a notification message which is the one that expects no response. Okay, and more commonly an operation receives a request and sends a response. The web service developer is permitted to indicate the specific communication protocols to be used in support of each operation. This is referred to as the bindings. Okay, that is, we know the definition of the binding right here, as we saw in the SOAP, that is the binding of the SOAP messages with the protocol. Okay, similarly here also. So WSDL also allows the web service developer, okay, to indicate the specific communication protocols to be used in support of each operation. So, and again, permissible bindings includes the SOAP HTTP post or HTTP GET. Okay. So these are the few points on operations. Now next one more element is message. It is an abstract definition of the data being exchanged as a part of operation. A message may have multiple parts. Each parts have an associated type. Okay, so here we have a small code. for the usage of the port type, operation and the message elements of the WSDL service specification. So here this shows again the port type, which comprises a single operation involving the two messages, a request and a response. That is, here we have, see here we have the port type element followed by the name of the port type. Inside the port type tag we have the operations. Inside the operations we have the two messages, and again here we have the messages types. Okay, message 1 is of the type input, message 2 is of the type output. And again we have to define what is this message 1 and message 2 using the message tag as we have above here. So message 1 is a type of the message. Okay, that is, for the message we have the name known as a message 1, and we can also specify the other parameters if you have the various information about the message in terms of part name and the type, etc. Similarly with respect to the message 2. So message 1 and message 2 are defined above, okay, before using. And here inside the operation we are making use of this message 1 and message 2, and we are mentioning the type here. Okay, message 1 is of the type input, message 2 is of the type output. Okay, that is operation. Inside the port type we are seeing comprising of the two messages. Okay, so these are the WSDL service descriptions with the usage of the elements, messages, operations and the port types, and how they are used here in the format. Next, UDDI. It is the one more technical specification which we need to know. So UDDI stands for Universal Description, Discovery and Integration, and is a registry or a catalog that allows business across the globe to list themselves on the internet. By using the SOAP messages, the user queries the registry for specific services. In response, they are provided the access to the WSDL that describes the operations, messages and protocols for the desired web service. The registry includes the equivalent of white, yellow and green pages of the telephone directory. White pages provide the addresses and contact information of a service. Yellow pages provide an industrial categorization of the services, and the green pages provide information about the services that the business exposes. Okay. Next, let us see the WS security. In WS security, we will be studying again the various concepts. The first one is the token types. Then we will be studying about the XML encryption as well as XML signature concepts. So let us see what are these token types. So web security addresses the basic problems in securing messages used in web services. Its main functions are: it defines XML elements that are used to communicate security tokens in the header of a SOAP message. Together with the XML encryption standard, it defines the syntax and processing rules used to encrypt one or more parts of a SOAP message. And again, together with the XML signature standard, it defines the syntax and processing rules used to create and represent a digital signature on one or more parts of a SOAP message. Okay. So basically, the main functions are to define XML elements, then usage of the XML encryption standard and the XML signature standard. The security related information is contained within a tag known as security element in a SOAP header. Okay. It specifies what operations are performed and in what order. Okay. The security element includes the security tokens, key signatures, timestamp, and security meta information. A security claim is a statement made about a subject's privileges, etc. A claim may be made by subject himself or by another party on behalf of the subject. One or more claims is or are represented by the security token. So now let us see how the security tokens are used. Okay, we know that security tokens are included in the tag security. Okay, in the SOAP header. So what are the forms the security token can take? Common examples for the security tokens are username plus password, or it can be X.509 certificate or a Kerberos ticket. Okay, so if we make use of username and the password, and it is the most used one, okay, the default is to send the password in the clear, but this is not a very secure option. Username plus the password, okay, which is used as a security token, is not a very secure option. So alternatively, how these are specified is the usage of the password PW, a nonce value n, and the timestamp t, which may be concatenated and then hashed using a cryptographic hash function such as SHA-1. So we already studied SHA-1 cryptographic algorithm. Okay, the usage of that can be applied here. So here we have a small code associated with the SHA-1, how to invoke how to pass these values, that is the nonce value n, timestamp t, and the password pw. So now initially it was to mention the token types, so security tokens in terms of username plus the password, but now it is the username, hash, nonce, and the timestamp are sent in a element known as username token. So here we are seeing here inside the username token, starting and ending of the username token, we have the various other parameters associated, that is the username followed by the password type. Okay, the username is the John, password type is also given here with respect to the user, and also the nonce values can be mentioned here, and the time at what time these values are generated can also be mentioned, that is the timestamp. Okay, created here is nothing but about the timestamp information. Okay, the security tokens containing the usernames are the pure text. As we are seeing here, the John is the username and it is a pure text. Some security tokens may contain the other binary data such as signatures or the keys also. Okay, here we are seeing just the username and the password. So here we can also include the binary data such as the signatures or the keys. So that is, if you want to include the signatures or the keys, we can make use of these things inside the element known as binary security token. Binary security token element is used in this case if you want to mention the binary data like signatures or the keys. Examples of the binary security tokens include X.509 certificates and the Kerberos tickets. The binary content in such a token is rendered readable by encoding it using the base 64 encoding or using hexadecimal notation. So here we have a small code associated, okay, which shows the representation of an X.509 certificate with the security element of a SOAP header. So we have the security tag, opening and ending. Inside that we have the binary security token element. Inside this we are mentioning the encoding type as well as the value type. Okay, that is these are used only if the binary data to be used inside the security tokens. Okay, like signatures or the keys. Okay, so finally we have the that is the first version of the WSO security standard was created by the organization for the advancement of structured information standards in 2004 with input from IBM, Microsoft and VeriSign. The version 1.1 was released in February 2006. Okay. So in today's class we have just discussed the information about SOAP, which stands for Simple Object Access Protocol, then the format of the SOAP message and how to make use of the SOAP message inside the HTTP protocol using the post request and the post response. Then we discussed about WSDL. The three main elements of the WSDL service description is port type, operation and the message and a small code associated with that. Then the UDDI, okay, where a user can query the registry for a specific service. Then WS security, that is with the usage of the security tokens, okay, how you can define, okay, the various security tokens are username plus a password, X.509 certificate or a Kerberos or a ticket. Okay. Okay, students, if you have any doubts, you can ask. Any doubts?